This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic.
Hello, bright soul. Thank you so much for joining me on another podcast. I just ate a Ninja Creamy ice cream and my mouth is partially frozen, so forgive me. Maybe I should pause and wait a few minutes for my mouth to de-thaw. And by the way, I haven't told you all about the orange kitten. His name is Milo, but we call him Miley. I don't know why we call him that, but it's pretty funny. He has a thing now where he comes around between 1 and 3 a.m. and knocks things off my nightstand. Now, isn't he just a treasure? So he did it last night. It's a thing. I don't know. I don't know why he does it, but it's pretty annoying. It's funny, but he's one of those things. He's one of the kittens that just likes to mess with things. He likes to knock things over, get into things, and he's still in full kitten mode. He will be a year old in February, so I'm hoping this kitten nonsense dies down eventually. But so far, he's still a rambunctious kitten, and the winter, I almost thought he had some seasonal depression because he goes outside a little bit, but there's nothing for him to do out there. So he comes back inside and sleeps a lot. And so I was concerned for a little bit, but then he gets these surges, these annoying surges where he just wants to tear everyone up. He slashed my arm in my sleep, my forearm. So I have this big slash, and it's pretty funny. My esthetician was like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Well, the kitten, that's what happened. Anywho, so that's the entertainment about the orange kitten in the Orange Kitten Chronicles as my mouth de-thaws and we go into the topic for today. And this is something that I have lived. Do you hear me? I have lived it. I went on my first diet in the 5th grade. Did I need to go on a diet? No. Was I overweight? No. Was I part of the toxic diet culture? Yes. I was surrounded by it. And so I have absolutely lived this. In fact, I started drinking Tab soda. Do you remember that? Tab, T-A-B. It was a diet soda. My neighbor she was always on a diet. She was overweight and she always had Tab soda because, that's the healthy soda to drink. And I grew up drinking soda. I didn't even drink water. It was Dr. Pepper all the way. My mother would feed me a candy bar and a Coke for breakfast. That's how I grew up. So I have had to shift my relationship and my mindset regarding healthy eating and fitness and nutrition. I played basketball in elementary school growing up. So I had a little bit of a sports mindset, but I was very unhealthy in my eating and I had no idea what I was doing. So over the years, starting early in my teens, it's whatever the fad diet is. I did the military diet. Do y'all remember that? Where it was like 3 days of just absolute cutting your calories. I mean, I don't even like cottage cheese. By the way, I'm not even going to get on a tangent, but I have become such a master at high protein recipes and high protein meals over this entire journey that are delicious and fit in with your everyday life. So I've got this down at this point. Okay. So I've done all the cabbage soup diet, that, ridiculous Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, carnivore, keto, oh, let's do cleanses. Oh my gosh. I've done so many cleanses, herbal cleanses where you're basically juice fasting. I've even done the master cleanse where you basically just have the liquid, the strange liquid for 7 days. I was a vegan. I was a vegetarian. I mean, I'm telling you, I really believe that I've tried it all, and this is why I can speak to you. Plus, I went through a holistic nutrition program, learning all about raw food, about the absolute just sham of an organic industry and how they still put all that stuff in your food. And so you can go down these rabbit holes of trying to eat clean and it's, whatever. It's too much. At some point it becomes too much. And really what it is it's calories. I know, but nobody wants to hear this. And listen, if you have a different experience, please go create your own podcast. Go on your channel, create your own podcast. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, I'm sharing my experiences. You can share your experiences on your podcast, but I'm sharing mine on my podcast. So I think that this is important because this is a triggering subject for people. People love to argue for their limitations or what works for them. So at the end of the day, it is calories in versus calories out. And I know people don't like to track their food, but what gets measured gets done. How do you know where you're at unless you track it? So the easiest way to start losing fat and keeping it off, because if you go to a weight loss clinic, they're probably going to slash your calories down to 1,200 calories. You're going to damage your metabolism. You're going to be starving. It won't be sustainable long term. And then when you're done losing the air quote weight, which you actually lost a lot of muscle because you didn't do it appropriately, you're going to gain it back. And probably you're going to gain some back. Why? Because you damage your metabolism. So this is the way. And I've gained muscle. I've completely recomped my body in my 40s. I look better now in my 40s than I looked in my 20s. How did I do it? Well, first, I stopped with all of the crazy cardio that stresses out your adrenal system. It raises your cortisol and it doesn't do anything for your bone density and your long-term health. Muscle is the organ of longevity. So I changed the way I was working out, number one. Number two, I started to track my macros. Now, it's not just about the calories, because if you want to build muscle, which is the key, and it's not just about appearance, it is about your bone density. It's about your body being healthier and stronger, and you look better and you feel better. So your body has to have adequate protein to build muscle and to maintain muscle. And especially after the age of 40, because we start to lose muscle if you're not actively doing something to build the muscle. And so the way that you get your nutrition in check, and again, resistance training is the key, building muscle. So I started weight training, and everyone has a different level that they come in at. I was already, when I started working with my coach, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I was already doing the nutrition piece before I started working with my coach. And it is the same across the board through all my experience, I'm immersed in this work. I'm constantly listening to the latest research, around people that are doing it. It's all of this stuff. So use a simple tracking app like MyFitnessPal. I personally use Chronometer. I think that's how I say it, Chronometer. I like Chronometer because it also tracks nutritional information. So how many vitamins and minerals and all those things I'm getting. Plus it tracks everything else. So I track my calories, and I'm going to help you figure out how to do this, that you could start simply right now. And the main macro that I pay attention to is protein. I need to make sure I get enough protein. And I personally eat my body weight in protein because I am actively building muscle, and I'm an advanced lifter at this point. So I'm lifting a lot of weight, and I want to make sure that I'm feeding those muscles so that I can continue to build and maintain muscle. All the other macros are not important. So I don't care about carbs. I don't care about fat. Fiber is important. I do track my fiber. I want to make sure I get enough fiber. And so it helps me to keep eyes on what I'm doing. And I know that if I'm doing these things, the results will follow. So here's how you do it. Just get a simple tracking app like MyFitnessPal. That's free. It's easy. I think Chronometer also has a free version. I personally do the paid because I want the other features, but you don't have to do that. And just simply start tracking everything you eat and do it for 1 week. At the end of that week, take the calories, your total amount of calories that you ate for that whole week, divide it by 7 so that you get a daily calorie intake of what you are averaging every single day. Take about 50 to 100 calories off of that day. So, and if you want to start simple. Do 100 calories a day or 50 calories a day. That's it. So if your daily average was 2,000 calories a day, now you're going to cut it by 50. You'll eat 1,950 calories a day. Now, I do ranges. So my range would be, I'm just using this as an example because, sometimes we eat high, low. And basically it's the weekly calories that matter. So let's just say my range then would be, I want to eat between 1,800 and 1,950 calories a day. that puts me in a deficit. That puts me in a slight deficit so that my metabolism isn't going to freak out and my body's not going to think I'm starving. It's very mild. Do that, and you should start seeing the weight move. So after a few weeks, if the weight is stabilizing, or when it starts to stabilize and it's not moving anymore, you take it down by another 50 calories a day. Very simple, very gradual. Now, another way that you can get yourself into a deficit is by getting more movement. But as we get older, like Orange Theory, for example, I was noticing I was exhausted after Orange Theory. Why? Because I already live a very high stress life and I was lifting weights 5 days a week, heavy weights. I'm not in there BSing. I'm in there for an hour and a half to 2 hours and I'm lifting heavy weights. My routines are hard. I'm getting my heart rate up during my routines. And so the Orange Theory on top of that was just stressing my body out. So it's really easy. All you have to do is walk. And if you're only getting 5,000 steps a day, push it to 6,000 steps a day. Increase your movement gradually. You can get a simple step counter. I have an Apple Watch. I like Apple Watches, but you can get a pedometer. I know that Apple phones check, but I don't always have my phone on me, so that's not particularly accurate for me. But again, when you're measuring it, one, holds you accountable. Two, it shows you what you're doing so you can actually analyze it and figure out what's going to work for you. So protein is important. You've got to get your protein in so that you maintain your muscle. And if you're wanting to build muscle, maybe a little bit more. And then your movement and your resistance training. That is really it. And a lot of times when I share this, I still have friends that are like, oh, I'm going to do keto for a week. And of course, they don't stick to it because it's not sustainable. You want to pick an eating approach that you can do long term. This is about the journey. It's not about a quick fix. When you do the quick fix, you burn out and your body is trying to adjust to these extreme highs, these extreme lows. So you want to do a steady approach. You want to have a fat loss goal that aligns with your long-term health and your energy and your balance. Now, again, the reason why I say fat loss is because you can lose weight, but when you're losing the weight, you're also losing the muscle. And then what happens is, and this has happened to me, you end up looking skinny fat. You look like this flabby, terrible version that's just smaller than what you were before. And it's like, ew. I've done that to myself before. And it's because you lose the weight so quickly that you also lose muscle. And we don't want to do that. And the way that you do that is by actively stimulating the muscle through resistance training. And so before I hired my coach, okay, I had worked with another coach before, a nutrition coach. And mind you, I've been through nutrition training. And for me, I always believe in supporting the very thing that you also support people with. So I believe in investing in my field. So when I was doing Orange Theory only before I was going and lifting weights and things like that, first I was just doing Orange Theory. This was after my divorce. I was really inflamed coming out of that situation because my cortisol was so high because it was just such an awful, toxic relationship for me. It just wasn't in alignment with me. And I stayed way past what I was supposed to have stayed. So my body was very inflamed. And so I was doing Orange Theory because I was coming out and figuring out and getting my cortisol down and, balancing my hormones and doing all the things just to regroup after all of that. And so I hired this nutrition coach because he was working with people who were just doing Orange Theory. And what he was trying to explain is like most women tend to undereat. And they're under eating because that's the toxic diet culture that we've been sold. And your body actually needs much more to function. So when you're under eating, you're tired. I would get lightheaded when I'm standing up. I was getting lightheaded in the workouts because I wasn't properly fueling. And it was this big shift to understand that I actually need to eat more because I'm actually harming. My body is like starving and my body is exhausted. So when I was working with him, he did the same thing. Tracking your macros every week, like he had a spreadsheet. I was using MyFitnessPal. I'd have to go into MyFitnessPal and transfer it to the spreadsheet so we could track the calories that I was eating. And because I wasn't like strongly lifting weights at that time, we were just looking at like the calorie range and fiber and protein. And so then I was like, I don't really need this anymore. I've got this down. And I was like, I really want to recomp my body. So I started doing all this research about that. And so I'm like, I need to start lifting weights. And I don't want to do just because I have things like in a home gym at home, but I'm like, no, I want to go like do cables and I want to join a gym. And so then I started using this app called Shred, SHRED. And I can't remember, I think Muscle and Fitness. I don't even know if it's still, I think you can still use it. I started using that app because it would create workouts for me, like weightlifting workouts or whatever workouts you wanted to do. So I started going to the gym. And so I personally like to go to the gym 5 days a week. I like going during the work week. I like to get up in the morning. I like to get my blood moving. I like to go before work. And I've been doing this for, you know, I don't know, since I was in my 20s. So I've been doing it a long, long time. So it's just part of my fabric at this time. So I already had a really good base of muscle before I decided to invest in a coach. And the reason I wanted to invest in the coach is one, for accountability, because it's one thing when, and I notice this with people where it's no one else is holding you accountable. Nobody knows your goals. So it's really easy to just not complete it because it doesn't mean anything to anybody else and nobody knows your goals. And so I was like, I really would like somebody to hold me accountable and also help me to craft this and work things out. I want someone to bounce it off of because there is no one in my inner circle that is serious about their health the way I am. Most of them are still crash dieting, overweight, don't work out. And it's kind of always been like that with me. So I'm like, God, I need to get around fit-minded people. So when I hired my coach, I was already going to the amount that I'm going. So you got to find what works for you. Because I know some people that they go lift 2 to 3 days a week and then they walk and they do resistance training. That's their resistant training days. Other than that, they just walk. So for me, I also got a walking pad so that I could walk at work because I was tired of sitting in meetings. And so I did that last year. That's been really helpful. Before that, I would just dedicate time. I would go on my breaks. I would walk. I would, go for an hour-long walk after work, just fitting it in where I can. I get on the treadmill after my lift. So nowadays, I lift heavy weights 5 days a week. And when I'm not lifting the weights, I walk. So I average between 15 and 20,000 steps a day. But I didn't start like that. I started at 10,000. And my point is, it's the nutrition. And people don't want to believe that it's the nutrition. They want to say, well, I did keto and I lost, 5 pounds in a week. No, you lost water weight. And that's why as soon as you eat carbs, you gain that weight back. And you didn't lose muscle. I mean, you didn't lose the fat, you lost muscle and water weight because your muscles are a big portion of what takes up your body mass if you're actively building muscle. So it's really simple. Once again, all you have to do, and I've done this, I've been doing it, I've recomped my body, I'm in the best shape of my life. And the scale weight doesn't matter so much when you're putting on muscle because my muscle is denser, it's bigger, it's fuller. So it's really interesting because when I was first doing it, my metabolism just went berserk and I started losing a lot, but I was still building muscle at the same time. I got really, really thin. And I was about a dress size smaller than I am now, but I looked skinny fat, even though I was building muscle. I was too thin. So then we started really going into a surplus where I'm not in a deficit anymore. I'm in maintenance plus. So I'm putting on muscle because my muscle needs that fuel. I need the food to gain that muscle. Then I started really packing on muscle. And then my dress size maybe went up like one dress size. And I look so much better and so much stronger and still in a smaller dress size than I ever was, like even in my 20s. So I look so much better now with the muscle and I feel so much better and I'm so much stronger. And so really we've got to, no matter what age we're at, we got to do resistance training. That is really the key. We were just sold a big phony mess with the cardio, being a cardio bunny and starving ourselves. It doesn't work. So what you could do now, just start tracking. Get one of the apps, track what you're eating, average up your calories, figure out what your daily intake is, reduce that by 50 calories or 100 calories a day. Very slow and gradual, and just monitor it. It's really easy to do. When you plateau, take off a little bit more. And you don't want to stay in a deficit forever either because your body adjusts. Our bodies are meant to adjust. And so after you get to your, well, this can get really complex, and I don't want to go into that. I'm just trying to give you a starting point. Anywho, diet breaks are a real thing where you kind of bring yourself up to maintenance maybe for a week or two and then go back down so that your body knows it's not starving. It's a whole science behind it. And I know there's a lot of information out there, but I will tell you this is what has worked. This is what works. It's calories in, calories out. This is an easy way to determine it. Lift weights and you can do it. And it doesn't matter where you're at, you can start. And that is all I have to offer. Let's go into a healing. And in this healing, particularly, because I can feel some people's heads are just spinning, let's cleanse you and clear you and help you to know very clearly the path ahead for you. And you can make this change. You can totally do it. Let's go into the healing. You can uncross your arms and legs. I will turn the healing on. Okay, and so it is. And friends, listen, fat loss is a marathon, not a sprint. It's important to celebrate your progress and stay connected to your purpose. And what is our purpose? To be healthy. I know for me, I want to be so healthy and so strong. I want to be the best version of myself. So I wanted to also leave you with an affirmation because affirmations can help to concrete the intention. So the affirmation that I wanted to leave you with is I am creating a healthy, balanced lifestyle that honors my body and my goals and my intentions. So that is all I wanted to share, and you can do it. And I appreciate you so much for being here. And I want to wish you a beautiful week. Take care. Bye bye.